A boosted FBI special agent job post appeared in my LinkedIn feed, and the age-based eligibility requirements caught my attention. The minimum of 23 is weird, but likely tied to needing a college degree and 2 years of full-time professional experience. More surprising was the maximum applicants must submit before their 36th birthday. I later deduced that this is because Title V requires mandatory separation, aka forced retirement, by age 57, and the FBI wants to get 20 years of service out of everyone, so they cut off applications at the onset of 36 to ensure that work begins before 37. But more on this later. Did famed fake FBI agents Mulder and Scully meet the FBI age eligibility requirements of at least 23, working by 37, and retired by 57? When The X-Files first aired in September 1993, Fox Mulder and Dana Scully were 31 and 29 years old. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson were 33 and 25. By the final episode of season 11 in March 2018, Scully and Anderson were in the clear, but Mulder was 7 months shy of forced retirement, and Duchovny was 7 months past his expiration. For a modern pop culture reference, consider the omnipresent Taylor Swift. She would need to submit her FBI special agent application before her birthday in 2025 if she wishes to be considered, else she will have aged past 35. Given her well-established penchant for disguises and hiding in plain sight, perhaps Taylor Swift has already been auditioning for the role of FBI special agent. Consider her Tonight Show appearance after the release of her Midnights album. Her entrance reminiscent of James Comey, the 6'8" former FBI director, famous for attempting to blend in with the blue curtains at the White House to escape being noticed. And she's dressed in a classic FBI wardrobe staple, the suit. Sure, it's flamboyant, but that's dazzle camouflage she's decked out in from head to toe. Dazzle, or razzle-dazzle, was used in World War I to disguise warships. Instead of aiming for invisibility, this counterintuitive approach Picasso'd the ships into high-visibility patterns, inducing an optical illusion with the intent of making it more challenging to determine precise trajectories. A group of zebra are also a dazzle. There are more visual tricks involving periodic stripe patterns. The barber pole illusion occurs when diagonal stripes on a cylinder appear to move vertically as the cylinder rotates about its vertical axis. The wagon wheel effect makes a rotating spoked wheel appear to spin slower, backward, or even remain stationary. This happens when the motion is intermittently visible, such as when paired with a strobe light or filmed with a frame rate similar to the frequency of the spinning wheel. This illusion also occurs in real life under constant lighting, but the cause of this lacks consensus. Taylor's friend Blake Lively, at age 36, is too old to apply for FBI special agent, but unlike Taylor, she could run for president, as the minimum age requirement is 35 with no max. Blake has already been practicing for post-presidency by cosplaying as a statue at the Met Gala. Teddy Roosevelt holds the record as the youngest president, assuming the role at age 42 after McKinley was assassinated. He created the U.S. Forest Service, which also now has roles subject to mandatory separation at 57. JFK was the youngest elected president, inaugurated at 43 and assassinated at 46. There have been 9 presidents inaugurated younger than age 50. On average, U.S. presidents are 55 years old at their inauguration. The 2 current frontrunners for the 2024 presidential election each already claimed the #1 oldest spot at their respective inaugurations the first time they won. Like presidents, Congress also has minimum age requirements without an upper limit. The Senate mandates a minimum age of 30, while the House requires 25. The highly problematic Senator Strom Thurmond clung to power as the oldest holdout, finally leaving at age 100 after parking in that seat for 48 years. In the judicial branch, the Supreme Court enjoys lifetime appointments without any age requirements. A trifecta of uncapped age. Rules for thee, but not for me. The Age Discrimination in Employment Act was created in 1967, offering protections for workers aged 40 to 65. The upper age limit was eventually increased and then removed entirely, effectively putting an end to forced retirement except for those the government single out. In 1974, mandatory separation at age 55 was added to Title V, initially only impacting law enforcement officers and firefighters. 20 years later, in 1994, this age was bumped up to 57, but has not been raised again in the 30 years since, despite life expectancy continuing to increase. Congress attempted to explain away the contradiction between age discrimination and mandatory separation by asserting that these professions require a young and vigorous workforce. The rest of us are expected to work until 67. For those born after 1960, this isn't a forced retirement, it's the earliest eligibility to retire without penalties. FBI special agents are allowed to retire without penalty even earlier than the forced retirement age of 57, once they have completed 20 years of service and are at least age 50, potentially allowing them to retire penalty-free 17 years earlier than the norm. That's a significant amount of time. Just look at Taylor Swift, whose current Eras Tour spans her career, encompassing 17 years of music.